Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. I am James Rink, and today I have a very special, exciting show for you. We have two guests that have been on our show before, but this time we're going to do a collaboration event together. And we've got Mary Beaver is with us, and along with Dr. Johnny Delirious. I'm hearing some background noise. If somebody got their fan on,
I
is
got
that
air
you?
conditioning.
That's probably you. You could always just mute yourself, Johnny, when you're not
Okay.
talking. That would always work.
Okay.
So we're going to go into some of the a recall that Mary and Johnny have had in the 20-year back mission they did together. Additionally, we're also going to go into some crystal skulls that draw carvings that have, I guess, that you've come across recently, Dr. Johnny, and
Yeah.
Mary's going to, as a linguistic, a cryptologic linguistic, she is going to give us some information on what some of these sigils and symbols mean. So let me go ahead and read a little bit more of everybody's bio. And Mary served in the U.S. Army as a human intelligence asset analyst with cryptologic linguistic abilities. She has the unique ability of real-time memory or click coding intelligence, which allows her to learn ancient languages such as Phoenician. She has memories of being a super soldier, missions on spacecrafts, as well as living on Mars as a civilian. She recalls military briefings in which she trained young soldiers on how to kill Draco aliens. She also has memories of soldiers with thick metal masks and uniforms where she was in some med bed tube in order to salvage her body and leave the rest of the soldiers behind. She recalls being referred to as one of Dr. Government's Frankenstein's monsters. Her SSP records are heavily sealed by the government, and even Galactic Space Command is not forthcoming on information about her origins. She comes from a long line of majestic Masons. Her grandfather served in World War II and infiltrated one of Hitler's strong bases, which possibly contained alien technology. 40 years ago, her father worked in an underground facility below Area 51, which contained dark secrets, resulting in him building a resistance movement against the government. It appears her father was a victim of MK Ultra Delta programming, which activated, causing him to nearly kill Mary when she was a child. Mary has received claw marks, needle marks, bruises, scars from malevolent beings who also seem to be targeting her children. And I got your contact information for people who want to contact Mary. In the early 1980s, Dr. Johnny Delirious worked with one of the first pioneers of the scientific modality hair tissue mineral analysis, HTMA. In the 1990s, Dr. Johnny had not only had life-threatening hepatitis C with 12 million viral load count, as well as liver cirrhosis, resulting in 96% scarred tissue. Due to his poor health, he had no choice but to sell his business and figure out a way to heal himself. His medical experts believed he had only 6 months left to live and recommended a liver transplant. Dr. Johnny chose not to get the transplant, which led to his doctors to believe he was delirious. Henceforth, since then, he's been called Dr. Delirious. Eventually, Dr. Johnny was able to completely recover thanks to the laboratory science knowledge he gained from his alien abduction experiences with the Greys. Dr. Johnny is a master survivor, best-selling author and radio host celebrity, and gives his expert advice with over 40 years of experience as a professional in the health industry. And so his website is themastersurvivor.com. So thank you both of the guests. Would anybody else like to add anything else to that bio?
Themastersurvivor.com is my website.
And Mary, how are you doing today? Okay, so you're lagging a little bit. So maybe Mary, you could just stop your camera so we can just hear you. Which is, this is kind of sad because back in the late 1990s.
Sorry, I had you on mute.
Okay, well, back in the 1990s, Bill Clinton issued $4 billion from Congress to rebuild the high-speed internet network in the United States for so even rural areas would have access to high-speed internet. Instead, all that money was squandered. So it's just more example of anyway. But the point is, are we able to hear you now, Mary? Is everything working good now? We're still getting a lag.
I think so. Test.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we just start?
I don't know what it is.
Why don't we just start off with you? Please explain to us what happened between you and Dr. Johnny.
So after the interview that I first had with you, Dr. Johnny and other people had reached out. Dr. Johnny is actually not the only one that I found to have interactions in the super soldier program. But ours was a little unique. And I remembered you telling you about the incident that I had on my third jump. At the end of it, when they send you back, they give you serums to mutate your gene code for the next 20 years that you're going to do. And I recently just found out that you probably can do up to 100 years, but I don't have confirmation on that. So that is hearsay at this point. But on the third jump, after we were set up to be attacked and they had killed most of my crew, I was in the lab, and before we go back, they give you new genetic codings. And I remember hearing Dr. J's voice, and he asked me, what do you want to get from this program? And I was like, hopefully death, because at that point I just wanted to die, because they took somebody very special from me at that point. And when he said that he was working on a secret serum and it was a match to my DNA, I was like, I don't care, hopefully it kills me. And it was a kind of a depressing thing. So I knew I was going back at about 5.5 years old. So when he injected me with it, my super soldier tried coming out, and a bunch of underground military soldiers came in and wore me down. I could hear myself snarling. Dr. J fell backwards, and then I blacked out and came back to my childhood. I couldn't talk. I was very aggressive, constantly fighting everybody, and that's kind of where they discovered that I was diagnosed mentally retarded, or spectrum disorder now. But so when I put that collaboration together with him after talking to him, it was fascinating, because I was like, I wonder if that's what you guys were meant to do in the lab, is inject us with new gene codes, but they have to send us back because the super soldier won't come out when you're a child. So it's a fight, and that's why they call it like certain bad behaviors in children, why they, act the way they do, they drool, and some of them never recover from it. And that's where the severe supposed autism spectrum disorder comes in. And but I was able to recover from it, unfortunately, through a lot of abuse. So him and I had that talk, and he had a memory of the rescuing, but I remember that particular situation of being turned from the assassin to the savior. Whatever it was that he was working on may have been secretly given maybe by the White Hats of the Earth Alliance. So I don't know those parts, because obviously I was on my way back to being a child when they injected me, or when he injected me with it. So.
Well, I'd like to comment, because when it first kind of came to me, and I, talked to Mary about this, she said, well, you were working for them. I said, what? I was working for the deep state? It's like, I really flipped out. And she says, well, sometimes they put you to work and they use you, but what you were giving me was something to save me. You said, this will help you survive. And so I said, well, today I'm doing the Master Survivor program. And you kept saying, Mary, well, you kept saying, this is my program. So that's how we kind of connected on that one. I remember holding a clipboard when I was talking and there's just, ever since I did that soul retrieval after the interview with James Rink, all this stuff started coming in, and I couldn't figure it out. And I could only identify certain places, and you filled in the gaps, Mary. Well, thank you.
Okay, well, let's go. Let me ask a few questions here.
Welcome.
Can somebody please describe the name of this group, and maybe their logo or insignia, and maybe what this group's main goal was that you two worked for?
I know I was
I
in a
don't know what the
laboratory setting.
scientific groups were.
Well, do you happen to know where you might have been stationed? Was it on this planet or off world?
Yes, on the planet.
Yeah. And the time period was about the same. I mentioned it was 1989 when I was abducted. And Mary, you said that kind of correlated with when you were made that jump. So it's hard to tell on exact timing, but I think, yeah, it was around this area. And that all seemed to come together during that time period.
And were there like other extraterrestrials working among humans and personnel in this facility? Do you have that level of recall? Was it all humans?
I know in my case, there was 2 incidents that I had with Mary. One, because that voice, when you did the interview with James Rink, that voice just triggered something in me. And I'm not kidding. I literally couldn't sleep for 2 days because I was thinking that voice. I know that voice. And then I finally calculated the incident. I was in a deprivation chamber, and where there's no light, no sound, no nothing, but the door flies open, and it was this girl in uniform. It was Mary. Later, I figured it out. And that voice, when she was talking on the interview, I remember what kept me awake that night was she said, get up. I'm not dragging you out of here, because she opened the door and I'm like, wow, because I was out of it. But then she says, oh, come on, you can do it. So she got me out of that deprivation chamber. And that's all I remember on that particular incident. And then the other one was where I was working in the lab, and Mary came in to get treatment of some kind, and she, was in that depressed state. So those are the 2 incidents that I remember, just those little flashes. And yes, when I left the deprivation chamber, I could see other humans and 1 or 2 aliens. And also in the lab, there were, and these were grays, by the way.
Well, I know, Mary, you're connected to Majestic. So I'm assuming maybe this was a Majestic facility. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Go ahead and talk now. Mary, we're getting a little lag there. Okay, well, I guess we could just. Oh, there
Sorry.
we go.
So yeah, so the program I was under was the MK Delta program. So it's kind of like when you're a child and you're taken to the undergrounds. They make it look like Disneyland. Like when you're going in at that first huge gate, you see all these. I mean, it's not Disneyland, but they have the facade because you don't want to freak the children out, obviously, unless they're for the adrenochrome. But when you go to these different gates, they're labeled like MK Delta, MK Alpha, MK Beta, MK Gamma, Omega. You have all these doors, and depending on your gene sequence and whoever your handler is, the underground, they take you through these particular doors. So for myself, I would go through the MK Delta door, and then from there, it's like the recruiting office. They scan your DNA, so that's like your test, if you will, and then they send you through other doors, and that's where you're either part of the sex kitten program and whatever that looks like. There's other doors. When you go to the MK Delta assassin program, there's multiple doors. It depends on what it is they want to use you for. So for Dr. J, he would be under what's called the MK Beta program, because that's where they had the doctors, physicians, and those were the specific bloodlines. I don't know that particular part because I wasn't involved in all that, but I do know the names of the doors. I do know that there was doors within the doors within the doors, programs within the programs. It depended on what they used them for. Everybody on the planet has been used. Everybody on the planet has been off space, unless you were considered food. No, that's different. So the adrenochrome, they don't leave, and if they do, they left for Mars or the moon, wherever the Dracos were harvesting them. So the particular program, so I don't know what the names were because they erased the names right out of you. So they don't want you to know the names. We're going to record those names, and that's going to be out there, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, but as of right now, they're not allowing us to know the names of like who we worked with. We can see the faces all day long. I know like there's a couple super soldiers I spoke to, don't remember faces, but they remember names. So it depends on what part of the brain they damaged that allows us to be able to recall. So I'm being slowly deprogrammed by somebody in the deep space program. And that's how I'm able to get a lot of this information. And it's like, oh, wait, there's all this information that just unplugged. And everybody else will get the same thing because there's certain words that either trigger you to react in fighting or, to hurt somebody, like the whole phone call thing. They get a phone call and all of a sudden they went out and assassinated somebody, came home in their bed, didn't know what happened that night. That's one of those trigger words that makes your other alter do something, and it could be anybody. It could be a regular housewife who never leaves the home, and yet she's out there serial killing people. You know what I mean? But that's the government mind control, and it's not prominent like that anymore, but it was. That was our life. So that system's breaking down. But like with Dr. J and other doctors, they're part of the beta program. So they would be used in either deep space or in space for healing, mutations, scientific mutation assistance or something, and then they'd be brought back. Everybody has been used in one shape or form. So, and again, the only ones that don't actually either make it off the planet or they don't do any of these programs were the ones chosen for the adrenochrome that I know of.
Mary, why don't you tell the audience members a little bit about some of your superhuman abilities as a super soldier?
So I'm extremely strong as an assassin. Our job is to be able to kill somebody within 3 to 6 seconds. In this person, my normal self, I'm a very nice person, but I do have to give everybody warning that, I'm cooperative unless threatened, and I normally black out, but I have an innate ability to transcribe ancient languages. Phoenician is the ancient Phoenician, let me clarify, because there is a Paleo Phoenician, which is the language of the slaves. And the cryptological part is I can read people like an animal would read you, and it could be part of the mutations, I don't know. And I can smell people's pheromones, so I know if they're a danger, if they're not. Let's see. I was designed to kill the Dracos and any other harmful ET that would pose threats. But at first, I was actually designed to round people up, beings of other countries or worlds. But mostly, we were used to guard new planets that had minerals on it because they didn't want other people coming to mine those planets. So it's kind of like the other real military. There's less action and more like stand guard. So, and the real-time memory just means I have a football size of knowledge, but I can't access it unless I'm in real time of the situation. And that's kind of what is considered a primitive animal mindset. So it's reactive.
All right. Well, Dr. Johnny, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this in your memories?
Well, I just know that some of the patients I've been dealing with, some of them are special forces, and I have a few that are super soldiers. And, I do know that if you're not being used for their particular purpose, then you're basically fodder for adrenochrome or whatever. So we're being harvested at so many different levels. And one of the things I'm understanding with helping my patients is that there's a restorative nature in all of us that can be done. And I discovered that in my healing. And that's what I'm trying to help not only the super soldiers and the special forces, but all my patients. So I just, I'm taking it and making it into the good, because everything can be good or bad, just depends how you use it. And so I'm using all this knowledge to promote more life, more happiness, more tranquility, and more peace in our world.
All right. So shall we move on to the second topic tonight with the crystal skulls?
Sure.
All right.
This was fascinating for me because I wanted to, I can't reveal exactly where they are because, but it's under military control, and me and my partner are the only ones that have availability to these pieces. And I saw over 100 different skulls. Probably 40 or more were crystal, and then the rest were jade. And then, of course, I saw other ones that were actual skulls. But the thing that's so unique about all these pieces is they're over 20,000 years old. Okay, they've been carbon dated and they've been tested and everything. And so that's why me and my partner are the only ones able to have access to this, because it's kind of a hidden knowledge and they don't want it out, and it is protected by the military. But I'm able to bring a few out because they trust me. They're training me for like medbed training and things like that. I've already had technician training ongoing about that. And so these are just things I can't talk about too much more than that, but they just told me, Johnny, we love your program. You've got the food, and these skulls and all these pieces have a technology, and part of that technology is a healing technology. And so that's why I brought it up with Mary, and I said, well, we ought to get with James. And okay, so here's a video of one. You can see the alien passing a cup to the human. Okay. That's what he's doing. Now, understand that these are over 20,000 years old, and they've been tested. Everybody that's an expert that I've shown them to, all these pieces say, well, all I can tell you is I don't know where they came from, but I can tell you they're not fake, because nobody could make these. So you see the aliens passing the cup to the Indian right here. And this material is crystal, but it's harder than a diamond. You can't scratch this with a diamond. So they're harder, and it's made, in a way that we can't replicate today. One guy told me he's in charge of a $2 billion facility that extract all kinds of minerals from all types of different rock and everything. He can melt and liquefy quartz and extract gold from it. I mean, there's only 2 facilities in the whole world that can do that. And we gave him one of the couple of skulls to look at, a couple of the pieces. He said, well, we can't replicate this today. So I know it's not fake, and you say it's over 20,000 years old. And I said, well, I think it's from Lemuria. And Lemuria had a multiverse off-planet function. And so that's one crystal. Now, there's another one, a video I gave you that was a jaguar. Yeah, this is the jaguar. And so this has got gold and jade, and it's got, the Aztec calendar, which wasn't by the Aztecs. It wasn't by the Mayas. It's from long, long, long ago, from an ancient race. And so this is some of their technology. And now I've put meters on some of these pieces, and they've got powers, some more than others and some different than others. But this is the, and again, just imagine, this is over 20,000 years old. So these pieces are under protection between me and my partner in the military, and we are the only ones that have access to it. And I said, well, I may show a few of these pieces. That's fine, Johnny. But don't reveal where it came from or where it is. So I said, okay, no problem. So this is a very unique piece. This is over like 300 pounds. This is really big. And so just the craftsmanship alone can't be duplicated on all these pieces. And let alone the age is over 20,000 years old. So I gave you, these two videos on that. And so these are extraordinary pieces. And by the way, they're priceless in value. I've had some people that, they've assessed different relics from Egypt or gold from the Ming tombs or whatever. So they've seen it all. And they say, wow, these are priceless. There could be so it's not like something I'm putting or wanting to put directly on the open market or anything like that. We're trying to decipher all the knowledge that these will reveal. And one of the things I've been talking to Mary about, I said, look, Mary, I want to bring you and show you some of these pieces and see there's writing here and specific glyphs. And so I want Mary to be able to look at that, read that when she's holding it in her hand, because you get power from these, Mary, when you hold them and you're around them. I mean, I walked away. I felt like I was animated I was on cloud 9. I didn't know everything was going off in so many different memories. So I know this is going to trigger you when you see them, and I know you're going to trigger them when they meet you. So these pieces
hopefully in a positive way.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at all this as a healing modality, and that's what I'm all about. In the Master Survivor program, James, I have 3 rules: no drugs, no surgery, and no one has to suffer. So my whole goal is to bring this wellness and tranquility back into people's lives. And these pieces definitely have the ability to do that. Anyway, that's one role about the piece that I wanted to discuss. And I sent you some other pictures too. I think some stills. If you could bring those up, I'll go over those, because I saw all these pieces and then much more. And by the way, the military and the government are in control. That they gave me a couple of pieces, and I showed you one earlier, James. That's no longer here in my residence. I've got a special forces family that lives close to me, and so I took that piece back over to their house. And so here's me holding a jade skull. This is jade, but then it's crystal at the same time. So when I showed some of these things to the experts, they said, well, we can't make that, just the way it's made and how it it's not just it's carved, it's like it's formed, or, so it's extraordinary. All these are 20,000 years old. Now, this is just one. I had all types of crystal skulls. This is the jade one that was more jade. And I put meters on them and measured them. Some of them have radio frequency, like FM. Others don't have any magnetics at all, but they have harmonics to them. So that's why it's so extraordinary, and that's why they can be used for good or for bad. And so I think it's really unique for people to kind of just open their view a little bit more, that there's a lot more to our world than they ever want you to know or you ever could imagine. And when you look at some of these pieces, like pull another one up. I had another one, I think it was a crystal jaguar that I was holding. And the best I could do is to help you see it, because it was totally clear, but perfectly carved. And so I put my finger in his mouth. And so this whole jaguar is perfectly carved. And again, You know, all these pieces are over 20,000 years old. So there's a lot more to this story, and each piece has its own volume to tell. I mean, it's like just a volume of information. So when you're holding them, you can pick up that. So Barry, I can't wait to get you to meet some of these pieces in person, because who knows, maybe you'll have a deja vu experience, you know. And so so anyway, another one. Each one has a unique. Okay, this piece is one that I have. It's not in my house, but it's got. So whoever this civilization is, they had a thing about alligators. Okay, you know, just like in the ancient Mediterranean, they had a thing about bulls. In Russia, they had a thing about bears. You know, the Chinese have a thing about dragons. Well, this civilization has a thing about alligators, not crocodiles, alligators. And so maybe that's when the alien passes his manhood. He goes out and captures an alligator, and then they say, "Oh yeah, you're a man," or something like that. Who knows? But all I know is the workmanship, you know, just on this piece or all the pieces, is absolutely incredible, as being so fine, and you know, not a scratch on it, and yet it's over 20,000 years old. There's no wear at all, because like this piece, like the crystal skull, it's harder than a diamond, can't scratch it. So here you got the pyramid, you got aliens, you got spaceships on each side. You got, you know, maybe this is like the alien view of his life. You know, he conquered the alligator, and he had this life, and maybe that depicts his life. You know, it's all up in the air of exactly what these pieces mean. But I want to, every piece that I have is different, James. If you could go to the next one, they all tell, okay, so these skulls, these are different crystal skulls. All of them are totally different. And they have a power. These had RF, radio frequency. And of course, they've got different glyphs on them that tell a story. So as we go through all these pieces, I want Mary to just kind of be taking mental notes here, and we can get her impressions after she looks, after we see. And I just have 4 or 5, maybe 4 more, but yeah. So I saw over 50 crystal skulls, and then you know, so you can go on to the next one, James, and okay. So here, this is just one shelf in this government. This guy is in the military, and up here on the second shelf there, you can see these are skulls of actual, you know, people. But this one skull, okay, there's an alien, you know, elongated skull, and then you move it over, and this one has horns. And I looked at it. Wow, that's not fake. Those horns were actually growing out of the bone. I'm like, wow. All right, maybe there were little devils running around. But every one of these skulls had a different thing. Now, these are the real skulls of real people or aliens. And then when you look back on the bottom shelf, and all this is over 20,000 years old. So there's all these different. Now, that's a different set of crystals, skulls. And then, you know, every piece has it. Like, look at this one. I mean, they all are unique. And I think maybe on right to the right, okay, those are the 2 I showed you in large. Those are the ones I showed you in large. But this is just part of it. Okay, you can see this stuff is provocative. It's got all types of information in them. So I know that they're recording their experience, and they're recording, each one has a purpose. And I have ideas about exactly some of the purposes of that. We'll have to do that in the second show. But I just wanted to show you the breadth and variety of work. And then there's the regular pottery, spaceships on them. So this was just one shelf, and there's other shelves and all these guys are government and military that have them, and they're protecting them. And me and my partner, the only ones that have access to it. That's about as much as I could say. I can't say, okay, it's south of the border. That's all I can say. That one looks like a saber-toothed tiger there to the left. Go back to the left, James. You see that? That could be a saber-toothed tiger. So, this stuff's pretty ancient, and yet there's an advanced culture more than we have today, or more than we know about it. So maybe go to the next picture, James, because I tried to get a variety because each one's totally different. That one just blows my mind. I can't make this stuff up. And I looked at it. Those are horns growing out of the skull. And it's a human or whatever. Who knows? So, and then they have all these like ceremonial sword things and all out of rock, and all this is very, very unique. So go to the next slide. Oh yeah, okay. Now this one is actually almost 3 feet high. I tried to pick it up. I know it must be more than 300 or 400 pounds. And there's a spaceship on it. And then there's like a mushroom to the right. Like I said, I can't make this stuff up. And then it's like a mother and child reunion going on this piece, because you see these aliens, and I don't know. I was thinking, well, it could be like a totem pole, but I have a lot of impressions about more I could do on the second show when we go over this. But this piece is big. Some of these pieces are huge. Okay. So that's one of the things that was so wild. Some you can hold, and then some you can't. They're just literally gigantic. And yet they're made the same way with this high artwork and this high skill of craft that, I mean, I was a jeweler for many years. I could never understand how some of this stuff was made. I mean, I polished stones, I cast gold. I know a little bit about it, not much. And I did that for over 15 years as a jeweler. And the skill and the craftsmanship on these are beyond any. And I've been to the Ming tombs in China. I've been to the terracotta soldiers. I've seen, the gold in Ukraine, the Viking gold. So I've seen some things in my life, but I've never seen the craftsmanship that these have.
Johnny, how do you know these are ancient? I mean, this almost looks like glue, and they wouldn't. I don't think they would use glue to keep out these stones.
They're all coming from the same place. Every piece that we've tested is over 20,000 years old, and yet when we dig them up, they're so well preserved. They're like, they don't have any scratch on it. Most of them are harder than diamond. And then some of them are made of different stones. This one's made of different, there's all kinds of stones and inlay in here. But the inlay, like here, there's abalone inlay around the spaceship. This is abalone shell. And when I run my finger across it, there's not a seam in it. Usually over the years, shell and things will, expand and contract, and you can feel the seams of the inlay of the pieces, but you run your finger across all these, there's no seams that you can feel. It's all smooth when you run your finger across it. It's unbelievable.
Maybe the reason why they use the shell, and this even looks like a shell over here, is maybe they got a sea base.
It could be. Lemuria was an island in the Pacific, and they traded all over the world. And they were more peaceful, whereas the Atlanteans turned more evil and misuse the crystals. But I believe that the Lemurians tried to use it for higher spiritual purposes. And so many of these pieces reflect the history of somebody's life or their family or whatever, and it depicted certain things. Now, this one is an elongated skull, and I looked at it and looked at it and looked at it. It's got carvings all over it, and I was trying to figure out, well, is this really a skull from a person, or is this something they made? And I still don't know. The military people, as well as my partner, we say, well, the teeth look real, but at the same time, they've got this, so we don't know if this is made of stone or if this is from an actual skull itself. We just don't know. It's hard to tell. But I would guess that it's more of a stone, because when we put the light behind it, the light shined through. So that meant that maybe it's a quartz or some type of crystal. But then at the same time, we looked at the other skulls that were real skulls, and they had, maybe they were fossilized and the rock took them over, because I've seen like petrified wood that's turned back to stone, but it represents the tree trunk or whatever. And we think, so that's what I mean. It could be stone or it could be a skull, but if it's stone, it may have metamorphosized the skull itself. So I'm telling you, these pieces are absolutely unbelievable as far as what they are and how they're made and everything. So I couldn't.
Yeah. Have you attempted to input this in some kind of 3D modeling software to reconstruct the face, what it will look like of skin and tissue?
Now that is what we want to do next, about how the face would look like, because I know I've been involved with archaeology projects in my past, in Florida and everything. And we have, seen where we've taken skulls and then they can actually implement what the face looked like using the computer technology and everything. So that's one of the next things we're going to do. We got big plans for a lot of this. Some people call it relics, but I call it technology.
Okay, so we have a good question from End Time Warriors. Why would these pieces not be locked up airtight? And why are they just on shelves? And one of them is near a window with a sticker of a butterfly. So how would you explain that?
The people that are in the government and the military are holding these pieces. They don't want them out in public.
Okay, so they're like in their own private archives, their own private collections.
Yes, and my partner and I have access to it because they like me with my program, and they, like my partner with what he does. But anyway, they are secure. They're not going to be allowed out just right away till we do further study. Now this piece. Okay, there's my shoes, guys. All right. But what's so interesting about this piece is, it's broken, but it's this huge slab. Now, these things are hundreds of pounds, these slabs. They're mostly of a type of stone, but they've got this inlay and carving and jade inlay, and there's glyphs all around a lot of these pieces. And Mary, take a close look at glyphs. See if you recognize. You can see there's a spaceship right on the bottom of that one, and at the top there's alien heads, and then so there's one type of craft, and then there's a type of being, and then there's glyphs there. It's not Mayan, it's not Aztec. It's just, it looks like that, but it's not. And yet this is totally different and 20,000 years old. All of them have been tested between 19 and 22,000 years old. That's carbon-14 tested. It's undisputable that that's their age. But up here on the one just above that, move it down a little bit, James, you can see all around the edges, there's a story being told about what's going on in the center. So, Mary, I wanted you to look at that. If you can zoom in on those glyphs, James, Mary, you look at that and see if you can tell any story. You know, picture tells 1,000 words, but then there's a language here that's not known anywhere or that I've seen anywhere, and yet it's depicting, in my opinion, what's going on inside. It's almost like a frame.
I don't even. But I don't even know if I should go clockwise or counterclockwise.
I don't know either. All I can tell you is that there's glyphs around that, in my opinion, describe the action that's going on, and the ones that are blank are occurrences that haven't happened yet in this particular scene of this situation that this piece is depicting. So obviously he's got a knife and he's killing somebody right there. You know, and that guy right there has a knife. So obviously this guy won the battle, and then this is maybe is his tribute to his victory. You know, that's all I can decipher out of that. But you can see every piece is totally different, tells a different story.
So let's give Mary Beaver a chance to comment. Mary, would you like to offer some input on this particular drawing?
Yeah, so the two stones, it depends on how, I don't know where they were when they were discovered, what position they were in, but in this position that they're in, if you go down to the bottom one, and we've known from a lot of the Gaia disclosures and what Trump has released and some of our memories, this individual right here is it's obviously an alien. You can tell with the eyes. I don't know what the formation of his arms are, but anything with a headdress is usually a symbolic, especially in those times, of what we would assume as a government official today. So somebody that rules over the people. And when you realize that our planet is a prison, a vacation planet, and because it's multidimensional, you know, there's a lot of things that go on here. But the Guardians are aliens. So, I mean, believe it or not, I don't want to get the page taken down, but people in our world today are aliens. And we know that because that disclosure has come out. So they were supposed to be our guardians, but when the Eternals backed off and became the Watchers, the Guardians got out of hand and that's when the bad stuff started really happening to humanity. We're on our 7th human right now. So this guy in this tablet, this just depicts that these are the Guardians. And then if you go back up to the top, you still have your spaceships, you still have your heads. And if you go to the top one, you can tell by the ship at the bottom and the guy's foot on the ship, that represents the sacrifice was being put on the ship for the harvest. The aliens are showing the harvest. The knife in the human's hands looks like they would sacrifice maybe their strongest warriors. So, and a lot of this around it are Earth-like symbols. Some of them depict the salt, mercury, and sulfur, the moon, earth, water, air, and fire. But a lot of them are plants and other symbolic. So it just, what it's telling me was that in order for the Guardians, if you will, to give to the people, they would have to sacrifice the greatest warriors. And we know this throughout, we just didn't know that they were aliens, right? We think they were gods. So that's where the problematic part came in our history. And that's what the whole thing has been a cover up since. So We still do that today. We know that today that humans get taken off. Every country has a contract or did. I don't know if that's been eradicated, but the contract was for 1 million people a year in each country. So if you think about that, and there's 192 countries, 1 million people go missing, either off-planet sacrifices, whatnot that we don't see, that deep space or underground saw. This is just depicting that this has been going on for a long time, and they were very proud of it because people then were not like we are now. So they would proudly and openly sacrifice their greatest. It was something that was, it was an honor to be sacrificed to their gods and aliens, because the mind control just got out of hand when the Eternal stepped back.
Are you able to interpret these sigils or symbols?
Most of them, yes. Like I said, on the other side, it was mostly just earth, water, air, fire, fixed, volatile, celestial, niter, prima materia. So to somebody who hasn't seen those symbols before, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So.
All right. Well,
but this was the knowledge given in the exchange for sacrifice.
Okay, we're getting a little feedback.
Is that all the images, or is there one more?
I guess that's it. Should we have Mary interprets some more of these? We can go back. Which one would you like to start with first, Johnny?
Whatever Mary wants to do. Would you like to interpret another piece, Mary? How about this one?
The video. Well, that one is very interesting because if you had the back picture of it, it's a mask that fits onto an alien. So I do believe that he's right. I think this is more of like something that was specific for the aliens, not exactly humans, but since we like to mock our gods, it fits it doesn't fit a human's face. It definitely fits an alien's face. And I think this is more of a Victor thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what's going on with the alligator other than he's on a stick and they're going to cook him up or something.
Well, I want to share an alligator with you because, like I said, something about this culture is they just love alligators. It just seems like a big deal for them. And I'm going to share that right now. If I put it in the chat, will you be able to see it?
Do you want to share a picture or a video?
Well, I'll share a picture.
Okay. We'll click on share. Click on share and then select share screen.
Okay.
And then it'll have a drop down box. You can select the picture file.
Click on share. And then
share screen.
Share screen. And then can you see my screen now?
No.
Okay, hold on.
No.
Okay. Wow. Okay, allow. Now, can you see it now?
Yeah, you shared your entire screen, not the image, but go ahead and select the image and so we can.
The image is on screen now.
No, it's not. We see your screen. You need to show us the image.
Okay.
We'll pull it up. I think you might have selected the wrong item. I tell you what. Why don't you send me the picture and I'll do it? Okay.
Okay, I'll move it into the chat.
Yeah. I think you might have to send it to me on Skype, please.
Okay. I'll do that because I've got out in this guy's front yard. He had an alligator, and I just sent it on Skype. and I'll show you both pictures. I'll show you the one in his yard, and then you see him. So they had this thing about alligators. It's like they're sacred or something, or I mean, like the bull was to the Mediterranean people, and the dragon was to the Chinese. It seems like alligators are the big thing in this culture. And so, in this guy's front yard, he has this alligator sitting there in his grass. You see that?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm getting it.
Yeah, you got to see this and this thing is huge. This is like if you imagine two big 5-gallon water bottles, just slightly smushed a little bit, round. That's how big this is. So I was trying to pick it up. I said, oh, gosh, this thing must be more than 400 pounds. You know, it's big. And this is in this guy's front yard. And he just has it out there, this government guy. And this place, this where they are, it's a gated community, and all government and military live in this gated community. So this is just sitting out in the yard. So when we're walking up to his carport there, his driveway, and so that's one of the pieces, and it's got jade inlay all over it. And when I run my finger across it, there's not a seam. You can't feel a seam in any of those places yet. You know, all these pieces are over 20,000 years old. So you can say, well, they glued it in, but glue that lasts 20,000 years, I don't know. There's not a seam in it. You can't feel a break when you run your finger across it. That's almost impossible to do with our craftsmanship and technology today. Always when you put inlay and mosaic or something, there's always going to be a little seam that, you know, you run your fingernails across it, you'll catch. But not on these. It's totally smooth, even though there's obviously pieces that are inlaid in there. So I wanted to throw that out as an interesting point of interest. Let's see, I got another one here.
Well, let's go, while you send that to me, Mary, would you like to make a comment about this particular carving?
I do not have any information on that particular carving. It's usually the symbols. The one that you showed earlier, the first skull, the video, I do know about what the symbols mean on its head and what the joinder is, if you want to go back to that.
Is that, you said the skulls, right? Those yellow skulls?
Well, the first skull, yeah. The first skull, the one that he's going around and it's sharing the cup. Yeah, the little video. That is what's called a materia, and it's the symbol of Mercury. So if the information and data can be released from that, then it would give the knowledge of not particularly Mercury, but it's also in the secret text of the mirror. So what it's sharing is the cup. That could be a symbol of the cup of life in the back between the alien, who again were the guardians to bring us to our basic knowledge, because you always have to go on this quest. That's why everything's a quest with us, and everything is about your journey. So the aliens were supposed to teach us in this form how to embrace what the avatar really was capable of. So this particular skull talks about the prima materia of Mercury and the mirror, the secret teachings of the mirror, which is in the Masonic and Jesuit secret temples and whatever. So I'm rather fascinated with that one, because the mirror teachings is kind of how, I guess, the different dimensions and stuff. I haven't really read up on a lot of, because I do come from those families, so I do have access to all those books. And I did kind of pull out the mirror when he showed me that, so I printed all that out.
Well, can you please explain to us what you mean by mirror?
So do you see how the moon, it looks like a moon shape, and excuse me, a circle on the top of the head, and there's two of them. That's the indication of the yin and the yang, the mirror. So when you look in the mirror, that's why everybody says, if you want to know what's wrong with yourself, look in the mirror. So if you want to know what's wrong in your life, look in your mirror. So the mirror is a two-dimensional thing. So the veil's been here for so long, we've forgotten about the mirror. So when we're all born with good and evil, so yin and yang, it just depends on what you harness as you get older. Everybody's innocent, but as you develop and whatever your lifestyle is like, where you're growing up, if you're growing up in abuse, if you're growing up in torture, you're growing up in privilege, it depends on what you harness at the time. But the mirror is the dimensions for us right now until the veils come down. So if you look in the mirror and you hate everything about yourself, guess who you're drawing in? You're drawing in the dark entities, the demons, and they're going to feed off of that because they're hungry. But if you sit there and go, holy crap, God gave me red hair, he gave me these beautiful blue gray eyes, the more you love yourself, and it's not vanity. The Bible has two stories. It has Satan's story and it has God's story. You got to choose which one you want to nourish, if you will. So that was the deal between Jesus, who is Yeshua, and then Satan on the planet. So that was the deal. It was a deal between humanity and who they could manipulate, I guess. Yeshua wanted you to go, for more of the peace, love, and balance. And of course, we know what Satan's plans were. So he just wanted to collect your soul. So the more you hated yourself, the more demonic you got, the more, bad things you would come. And it's in the mirror. So, and I felt that growing up, and one day, and I was, again, surrounded by these people, and they say, well, when you stop looking at yourself in the mirror about what you hate, because I was a redhead growing up in a white school, like an all school, it was like putting a black kid in the school in the 1920s when I was growing up. I was the only redhead. So I was picked on, I was beat up, I hated my looks, I was taller than everybody else. I was on the spectrum with buck teeth, and I came home crying every day. And then finally I was like, what does God love about me? You know what I mean? What is it why am I hating the creation that he made? So when I stopped hating everything about me because everybody else was made to hate me or whatever their issues were, I began to become confident in myself. And so here I am, and I'm able to people, inside themselves and what their worth is. And hey, you've got this mission, what are you doing? And, to help people turn around. But again, that one, the skull, she represents the mirror. So the balance between yin and yang, and it's the knowledge that the guardians were supposed to give humanity back then. And it was shared. We did live among them, and there was peace up until they became, they got a hold of the adrenochrome. And then it was all about, well, we need to harvest more. We need to let them breed more. And it just got funny. Well, not funny. It's actually quite sad, but you know what I mean? So, and cool. These are all in the teachings of the 12 keys. Like, I did these out to read you myself, so the 12 keys talk about it, and concerning the matter, the philosopher's stone, redemption. I mean, I have all of it. It doesn't mean I jumped out there. I'm not like a master key. I didn't jump in. I mean, you can make gold from water if you had access to all this. And that was the access that these guardians were supposed to give us. So nobody suffered. You can make your own food. You can build your own home. You had these abilities that this flesh, this avatar that you're living in, was supposed to be capable of. So you can download the knowledge from these skulls, from these sculptures, if you know how, and it is in these sacred teachings. And I did also speak to another super soldier on how to extract the knowledge. Not saying it's safe. I don't think everybody should do it.
They tell a huge story.
Mary, why don't you?
And these are all over. Africa has their own lockdown. So this, from what I can tell, again, I have more there, and I have to have my sacred books with me. But one looks like a defeat. The jaguar is considered like a hero, guide spirit, if you will, to the South Americans, because they do kill reptilians and That's one of their main food source. I was genetically altered with it. My last call sign in the military was Jaguar Red 1. So this looks like a victory to me, like at some point in that particular history. So you can see a snake head or dragon head. And there's also another face on that shield where the jaguar is standing over it with his hand on the skull. So that tells us maybe if we were to create something like that today, maybe if Trump is the one that succeeds or whoever succeeds in, taking down the cabal, the Illuminati and the evil majestics, what kind of carving would we make? We have a lot of them on the church where you have St. Michael with a spear in, the head of that demon. So that's what that looked like in the 20th century or before the 20th century. So back in the time of Rome or even further. So these are victory carvings, but without being there to actually take images from it. I mean, I can see most of what it is, but for me to do it without being there, taking the impressions. But yeah, there's multiple heads in there. The one with the tongue hanging out, we know those symbols, Illuminati has been around for a long time. So, and then the dragon and the victory skull. So this is a victory of whoever represented the Jaguar warrior at that time. They won even back then, but it doesn't mean they eliminated them. So this is repetitive. It happens every 2,000 years, I think.
I sent one more piece that is actually a smaller piece. That's a big piece, what we just saw. That's really big. But I sent one more piece to you, and it being so small, but being so intricate, and I thought it'd be a good place to end if you look at that piece I sent to you by Skype.
Okay, hold on.
And it's jade. It's the.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second here. It's 403. Yeah, it's not like that one. Let me try this again.
As small as it was, and then as intricate as what it's depicting, I thought was extremely interesting.
All right, so we got some sculpture here, like a flying saucer craft up here, and some aliens, and it looks like they're levitating some objects. How would you interpret this, Mary?
Go to the other one. They got another side to it. Go to the next one. There you go. This is the other side. I mean, it's got a lot going on in this one little piece.
Some kind of Nagas-like creature up here.
Yeah,
and
a skull, an alien, and then a warrior in the back.
Are they trying to kill it?
There's something else in the back. Is that another alien?
Where? Back over here?
Or maybe it's consuming. Yeah, that back looks like there's a form of maybe an alien or another human. A skeleton looks like a gray, and then on the right, maybe your left, a man. What is the top of that, Doctor?
Don't you like it?
No, I do. I was just asking what, because of the angle of the picture, I can't really tell what it is other than maybe.
I thought the big
what was on the backside?
Like a reptilian.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
That's
you
why
can
I
see the
wanted you
split
to see
tongues.
this.
Down.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to see this, because I thought that big guy was a reptilian, and then he's got grays there and a human. And then if you look
And
at
the
the other
skull.
one that shows the other side of it, that I show the opposite side of it. It shows their journey.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
that's the back side, and then the other is the front side. But I thought that was a reptilian. That's why I wanted you to see it.
how would you interpret these
Could very
spirals?
well be.
Mary, how would you?
Without my other book, I don't know what those are. I know those. I think the blue and the aura represent two moons. So this Earth used to have two moons at one point, and they were destroyed. So I wonder if that's at the time of the two moons, like when they were on this planet. So that could be older than 20,000 years. So, and that one I did get confirmation on that from Jared Rand about the two moons. And we do have history of one of them crashing into Earth, and that's what made it a water planet. So, and that's what we are, is a water planet. So I wonder if this represents the history of that time of the two moons. So that's curious, actually.
Show the other side again.
And then the skulls.
All in the same.
Maybe it could represent the cedars, the different groups of the cedars, perhaps. I don't know what the side is. That an alien on the side behind the skull, Dr. J?
Yeah, well, I think
because even the dark Dracos.
I think he's holding a human and a gray right there on his right. And then on his left, he's got somebody else that I can't see, but I see the arms and legs. So this guy's actually capturing these that I can interpret. He's capturing them. That's why I thought with the teeth and the shape of the head, I found him to be more like a Draco or reptilian type. And he's like, you know.
Well, and you have to understand that the cedars, when the cedars came down, the Draconians were not all there was no evil during that. I mean, there was, but not like we think. The Draconians, so the God Creator Council is made up of many different gods. The cedars came down, and it didn't matter what was planted here. Whatever they could get to grow, grew, right? So that's why we've had so many different history of like the nymphs and the goat people and the gods mixing with humans, and the cedars, even the Dracos are on the Creator God Council. So they had a big part in creating life on this planet. And that could be why the Southern American tribes, whatever you want to call them, Mayan or Aztec or whatever, they worshiped them because all the cedars were given land after the Titans fell. You know, according to history, the Titans fell, and that's how we create the main islands, and different islands were created after they calcified. So there's so much history on the planet, and until the veils are lifted, we're not going to remember all that history. So we have these little pieces. This could be, a small replication of when the two moons were here and they were seeding it, and then the moon crashed into the earth, and maybe this represents, because what's that side piece where there's blue coming down? What is that? Is that the water where these cedar, where they flooded out, where they destroyed? There's been so many cedar beings on these type of terra planes. So it was just a race to see what would grow here. You know what I mean? And successfully, there's been hundreds of thousands of years that, yes, unfortunately, the military is going to cover up because there's a lot of abuse that, I don't want to get adrenochrome.
Right.
I mean, who wants that? But they're going to keep those. We don't believe in the sacrifice more. After Jesus, we said enough.
I put one more piece in, James, simply because I showed it to Mary earlier, and I said, "Do you remember Atlas holding up the world?" So I put that one in, Mary, because I've got a little gray holding up a planet. So let's see if James can pull that one. Like I said,
Yes.
every page tells a bigger, different, totally different story. And when you look at this one, it's no question that it's telling a different story. But that got me a gray, holding up the planet like Atlas, like he's like, Mr. Macho. So
Have you sent it to me already?
I sent it to you in Skype.
Oh, I see. All right. I don't see it. I only see the alligator and the one that you just showed us.
Yeah, it's there. Okay, try it now.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm downloading it now, so bear with me, folks. Let's see here.
And this little alien's wearing, like the Indian just wore a little front piece, like the Apaches wore a little front piece. So his little garment for his legs are similar to what the Plains Indians, like an Apache, would wear. So I got a big kick out of this because I'm thinking, well, wow, and this is a gray, and he's wearing just a little front garment like an Apache Indian would wear, because they didn't wear much. They rode the horse and they wore a little front cape, a little piece of leather, and that was it. So that's what this little guy is doing, and yet he's holding up the earth like Atlas, but he's a gray, or he looks like a gray. So I showed that to you earlier the other day, Mary, and then you sent me a picture of Atlas. So I found that kind of intriguing, that maybe these grays are thinking, well, we can be heroes too. I don't know. It's like all these pieces are depicting an achievement of some kind. And so
I'm having trouble opening it up. Give me a moment here. You can keep talking if you like.
Yeah. So, like each piece I could send you would be totally different. That's why I wanted to do a second show, kind of like part 2, because I've got lots of pieces and certainly pictures a lot more. And they're allowing me access to this because they know I'll open it up in the right way, and they know I'm not trying to make money on it or anything like that. It's not what I'm about. I'm about the history and what the story is, so what we can learn from it and how it can help our healing. So this little gray is holding up a world like Atlas. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, well, when you sent that to me, that's when I sent you the picture of Atlas holding the world, and they're like literally in the position. And then the Atlas world has different symbols on it also, which are unfortunately part of the Masonic and Jesuit, codes on that world. So it would be interesting. I think this one is a small replica of a bigger one, and this would be maybe how the Guardians gave us the gift of knowledge or something, like you drank from the sacred cup of like our world looked like back then, and these symbols on this one. So again, just an observation from looking at it right away and then comparing it to the Atlas today and knowing how the secret societies worship the world that Atlas carried. It was the same kind of thing here. And they probably do somewhere, if you take those blood oaths, they put blood in it and they drink from that little Atlas cup or something. I don't know. But they're exactly the same. But yeah, this one's a smaller version of the Atlas that was done in the early 1900s. So, but all have symbols that relate to earth and knowledge. So I don't know what the other part of that cup says, but like I said, if I can get that government clearance to go down and look at these, then I would be glad to do so and see what we can find from it.
Sure. Okay, I'll send you one more, James. Here, people say, well, what do you mean it's got spaceships and aliens? Well, here's a piece here. It has the top on it, and it's definitely a spaceship. And then when you open up the little top, it's got aliens inside the spaceship. So, I mean, I can't make this stuff up, and it's abalone all around the edges there without a seam. And this is like metal with inlay stones. And then when you open it up, you see the aliens riding inside. And I just, on that second picture, I think you got it. Let's see. Yeah, you got it.
You have a picture. You sent me one that looks like inside.
Yeah, I sent you the second one. You should have it.
I'm downloading now.
Okay. So you open up the cap, and inside you see the inside of the ship, and it shows the aliens inside, and I think that's fascinating, that piece, because there it is. So you take the top off inside, and the aliens are inside running the ship, looking out the window.
Yeah, I went ahead and muted Mary. We're getting a lot of feedback. So just looking at this, there's the seashell. And so how does it actually mount it inside there? Is it an actual type of glue or is it
I don't know.
Together?
There's not a seam on those little strips of abalone and these strips of jade. You see there's obviously a seam, but when you run your fingernail across it, there's no seam to it. So the craftsmanship, like I said, is extraordinary. Okay, maybe they use glue to anchor and glue it down, but over 20,000 years, you would think usually that would, break up to where at least you could see a seam or one starting to peel off. These pieces are all perfect. There's nothing wrong with any of them. We dropped one that, like I said, that one broke, but all the rest are perfect. That's the one thing that's so extraordinary about these pieces is there's not any wear on them, and most of them are harder than a diamond, and measured at between 19 and 22,000 years old.
All right, well, let's open it up the floor to some questions from audience members.
Okay.
So does anybody have some questions for Mary or for Dr. Johnny, or perhaps about the carvings here? So I'm just going to go through the chat and see if I can find some. Somebody says, guess these are all from Mexico and I'm assuming South America and Central America.
South of the border.
All right.
That's the answer.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute Mary. If you have some, you can comment too if you like. Let's go to, let's see if we have.
Well, Mexico was the last. Mexico, from my knowledge, was the last place that Atlantis had not been destroyed, where it was before the Atlantean War broke out. So, and there wasn't a much nuclear war here on the Americas as it was in Europe, because most populations were in Europe. So a lot of those ancient relics were destroyed, as these are more preserved, and the temples are very protected. So even during war, the temples are protected in Mexico and South America. And ours are just covered in mud floods in North America. So wouldn't that be interesting to go dig those up?
Well, who do you believe made these pieces?
My impression when I saw them, well, my impression when I saw them, I told my partner and I told the military people, I said, these came from Lemuria. And we talked to a shaman and he said the same thing, this shaman. And my partner knows a Palladian and he said the same thing. So Lemuria seems to be the answer.
Comment from AJ. I believe aliens came down and carved them with advanced tech and then traded them the ancient Mayans for human slaves. Okay, well, how about... okay, how about this question? Ask yourself, why do you have a partial lizard brain at the base of your skulls? We are part reptilian. They are one of the genetic bloodlines. Okay, let's see here. Can you elaborate more about the cedar race involvement? Either Dr. Johnny or Mary, if you want to go into that, go ahead.
So my knowledge of the cedar race is when a world is birthed, and it is birthed. I actually have a picture of what it looks like. And when it becomes a water planet, life can grow on it. So these God creators come down as cedars. And again, they plant what they want down here, just anything from any other planet to see if it will live. So that's why you see other beings that might look like us, but maybe they're blue or they're green because they're on a different planet. And that's what the atmosphere there created. So whatever the cedars, like there could be thousands of them and they're designated in the different like lands and even the sea. I mean, that's where the mermaids come from. And the whales, the trees are usually the first things that are put here because you have to have sustainable oxygen, obviously, and that's why we can go to other Terra Earths like this one, because we've had quite a few in our galaxy. We have more than 9 planets. There's 135. So there's a lot of planets like ours. So that's why a lot of, beings kind of look like us, but might be more pale or might be blue. Some are bald, they have no hair. It just depends on the atmosphere of the water planet. But when it becomes a water planet, the cedars come down, see what will live on it. So that's what the cedars are. They're all different types of races. They're all designated with different territories, and it's their job to nurture whatever grows on that planet, from my understanding.
All right. Question from Spiritual Drip. Are there any stronger good beings better than evil reptilians? First of all, I wouldn't say evil reptilians could be categorized as evil or benevolent. They are just like humans. Some are positive, some are good, not. But as far as which beings are the strongest, there was an experiment that took place under Project Ibis, according to James Casbolt, in which the AI abducted different races and put them in some kind of alien world where they would pit them together against each other on different missions to see which species would be the most superior being. And they actually found the Earth human was more superior than even the feline, reptilian, and the Draco, different race, even though there's other benefits. Just when the Earth human is fully activated with all their psionic abilities, they're so much more stronger in so many other aspects. So we technically are the most powerful beings in the universe, but we are being suppressed in so many ways to stop us from having our birthright, in my opinion. You guys are welcome to comment. You want to add to that?
Oh, perfect.
All right.
No, you're right. I mean, we're superhumans, and that's what it is. We're not just super soldiers, but they're like Johnny, super doctors. When you're in these programs, they heal the broken DNAs, but when they bring you back here, they take it away because they don't want you to overthrow, that particular establishment or system at the time. So, which sucks because I wish we had our powers. And it was after the fifth human, we were suppressed from our memories and our powers. So when we watch these movies of like Merlin and stuff, those were real, but that was in their generation. It was even older than we are today. So yeah, it'd be nice to have our powers back, right?
Is there a connection between crystal skulls and the womb?
That's what we're going to try to find out. So there is a ritual in some of the books that I have, and I did clarify it with another super soldier about how it's supposed to be done. I cannot say it because we don't want these places infiltrated because they've done the wrong way. Some of these crystals have souls trapped in them. We don't know what type of souls. They could be evil gods. They could be good gods. We don't want to release some weird gods onto the planet in a human body because that could just create more chaos than we have now. So if it's not, there's specific ceremonies that have to be done, and I fortunately have some of the knowledge on how to do it. So that's why if given the government permission to go down and try to harness the technology in these, and yes, the crystal skulls do hold technology, and it could give us the ability to try to, activate the pyramids and, the med bed for the whole world. We have no idea. I mean, again, there's endless possibilities, but it's kind of like the Nazis when Hitler was running around trying to find Pandora's box. And when he did, that they were just because they didn't have good intentions. So if you go in there with bad intentions with the knowledge of these skulls, you can end up dead. So it's kind of like they have their own fail safe, just like we do.
Thank you very much. As far as the Wingmakers are a group of ET from our future that travel back in time to deliver tranches of technology in different parts of the world that was claimed by the ACIO that will help us fight the Animus, which is a form of black goo AI, which is evidently it starts spreading all over this quadrant of the sector of this part of the universe, which problem will continue to go on for probably a couple more thousand years until I think it's going to be defeated. So let's move on to this. Jaguars, not South American, but Southern Mexico. So.
Oh, there's jaguars in South America.
Maybe
there's even mountain lions in South America.
Maybe that particular carving.
They got those too. They got bears in South America too.
All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and just wrap this up here. So we're going to go ahead. Does anybody else have any other final comments? Oh, here we go. This is actually a really good question from AJ.
I was just reading that one.
Yeah. What do you, any kind of information encoded in the skulls? Like, I guess not just the carvings, but the skulls themselves.
They've got energy. Some of them have radio frequency like FM. Others have actual harmonics in them to where you can feel it, but I can't measure it with any of the instruments I had because I brought instruments with me to measure them. And then when you're talking about scalar or chi energy, you can pick that up only yourself. And I was picking that up. There, James, I apologize. There's a lot I'm not saying because I'm trying to be careful here. There's a lot more to this story. And that's why I said, well, this is just part one, So, and I have more pieces to show you that are equally as extraordinary.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie. And we thank all the guests, Mary and Dr. Johnny. So the contact email for Mary Beaver is in the description section, and the contact information for Dr. Johnny. Why don't you tell us what your website is, Dr. Johnny, one more time?
Okay. My website is themastersurvivor.com. That's mastersurvivor.com. And you can contact me by clicking the consultation tab. It's a blue tab. It says consultation on the top right-hand corner of the website, and just fill in the little form with your name and your message, and it goes right to my email box. So themastersurvivor.com, and just click on the blue consultation tab on the top right-hand corner.
Thank you. And Mary, do you have any other final comments that you would like to share?
Oh, I want to plug something for Mary.
Not really.
Well, wait, this is for Mary.
What?
Because I've been wanting to talk about the soul treagle that Mary offers. And if nobody knows what that is, Mary, why don't you tell them about soul treagle? Because I'm so grateful that you did my soul treagle and the soul treagle for my son that I lost. And so that was incredible because it relieved so many things that were stuck in my psychic, and now they're gone. And I have a real freedom now since you've done that soul treagle. So I'm eternally grateful to you for doing that for me. So I encourage everybody. The soul treagle is part of the Master Survivor program. I encourage everybody to get a soul treagle from Mary Beaver.
Thanks. But yeah, what the soul treables are is the ancient language of the last spoken language of Jesus Christ. I know everybody thinks it's Hebrew. All tribes of man at that time were Phoenician, and the Hebrews and the Jews were considered the Paleo and the Anunnaki Phoenicians. I come from the Vulcan Phoenician, which is the bloodline of the Magdalens. I'm not saying that I am Mary Magdalene's bloodline, but I do partake in the actual bloodline of the king himself. So he had many children, and regardless of how anybody feels about that, I am registered federally to transcribe ancient Phoenician. I was one of 6 to 8. I don't know how many of the other people are alive. I think that I may be the only one that knows the ancient dialect, because I had 2 priests approach me several months ago asking me to transcribe the emerald tablets. And when I asked them what they wanted it for, because they want to take me to the Hall of Knowledge. And I was like, no, I don't want to go there because I'll get shot. I'm not allowed to go anywhere near the temples or anything that has this Phoenician language on it. Because one of them, the tablet transcribed that gives you 1,000 years of life. And these priests or whatever they're called, they're actually part of the red wizards of the cabal, and I'm not going to give 1,000 years of life to the evil on this planet. So I look at it as the way that if God wants you to have it, he'll let it. If not, this is part of the Babel. We have gone so away from God's grace and the one source connection, and there are few of us planted on the planet now to help guide everybody else. I consider myself a guide in few things. I'm not master of anything yet, but I got on to the quantum grammar under Russell J. Gould and was able to, take the Babel out of his language. I'm still a student, so I'm not perfect at it. But when I was able to take the lie out of the language and rewrite everything in Phoenician, it's like something in my head opened up. 14 angels came down and said, now that I know the language of God, I needed to start freeing souls on the planet. So I don't force anybody. I'm not just going to throw it out there for everybody. It's something that you're going to have to want to feel, because some of you are new seeds. You're not going to feel any of this. You're not going to know any of it, because some of us are prisoners, some of us are on vacation. All of us are trapped. So there is a soul cage over the planet, and the evil AI has made it that way, so we can't escape, and we can't go to heaven, we can't be properly judged, and now we're in the era of judgment. So whatever that looks like for anybody, if you go as a child, it'll be like you're sitting on God's lap, and he's going to look at you like you're a little 2-year-old. Okay, don't do that again. When you go out into the universe, try not to wreak havoc, but then there's a scroll for final judgment, and that I just did on the Illuminati. all but the banks. I was told to write final judgments on those. I was hit very hard by the cabal. They tagged me with the microwave and passed out and had a grand mal seizure in front of my children. And I did that's on video. So it's sad to see when my children are panicking. And I've been thrown down my stairs by God knows whatever ET. So that's what the soul tribbles are. So we are in the era of judgment, and it goes beyond Yeshua. It's the judgment of the one true source God. So that's what that looks like.
Wow, thank you, Mary. So I guess we go to soul retrieval, or do they contact you?
Yeah, I have the soul tribble website. Huh?
Do we contact you, or do you get the soul retrieval? Where do we go?
So it's not retrieval. Re means no contract. So RE is a negative pronoun. So we don't, it's a soul retrieval because you're not retrieving anything. You're a retrieval. You're gaining back the ownership of your soul, which was when you came here, you, again, were either in prison. Everybody has a soul contract on the planet, and this frees you from being reborn over and over and over again into whatever situation your soul contract has. Now, I can't stop anybody from dying and coming back and creating a new one, which happened. So that was interesting. You're usually just supposed to be free and go back out somewhere else into the metaverse. But one person that I know did come back, so I don't know why. But soul retrieval, not retrieval. Retrieval means no contract. So RE is a negative word.
Okay, where do we get
but
that?
I do have a website. Hold on. Let me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll put it in the video description.
I can send you the link.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that so we can get so audience members can get a hold of you. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for listening in here. Thank you, audience members. Thank you, YouTube, for not deleting this live stream, even though we did. I think we said a few dirty words, but maybe the AI of YouTube can learn something new too for its enlightenment. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. I don't know how long this channel will last, but it's all going to be put over. Be sure to also subscribe over to Rumble, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube that are I have to remove and put over there. Also, folks, be sure to go to my website, www.neologicaltech.com. Get yourself a NeoCube to help you relax and meditate. Also, I have my books on there about some of my own experiences. There you go. Oh, and I also have some crystal skulls on there too. They're not ancient ones, but they are carved by somebody, in my opinion, were really nice, beautiful carvings. So anyway, so there we all have it. So everybody, we'll all see you all later. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, evening, or night, wherever you might be.
Thank you, James.
See y'all later. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.